I've been trying to collect all the masteries in Brawl Stars, and so far I've completed the masteries of 16 different brawlers. Today I'm gonna be getting my 17th mastery on Pearl.
Free diet 8 days!
Her title used to be Just Stow It, but it has now been changed to Let Me Cook, which is so much better. And although her shots look like Pam's and her super looks like Macy's, Pearl has some very unique things about her that make her so strong. It was quite a journey pushing her mastery, so here are all the things that happened along the way. I played on 2 Hot Zone maps, 2 Brawl Ball maps, a Knockout map, Heist, and the special event Pumpkin Plunder. I survived pushing Pearl's mastery through 2 very broken brawlers, Chuck and Charlie. I had some special guests on my team. We played some very close games. I pushed my Pearl to over 1,150 trophies, and as always, I talk about my strategies to win with Pearl. Now let's get to cooking on Pearl. I'm starting the first day of this push at Silver 2 and 753 trophies. We're playing on Hot Zone, Ring of Fire. I'm playing with my friend Hunter, and we couldn't really find a third, so we were playing with a random. I would say Pearl's job on this map is to take a lane and try to defend the zone. She doesn't work too well in the middle here because she gets outranged by a lot of other mid-lane brawlers like Lou or Piper. Not to mention she is really slow, so you're such an easy target. The last thing you want to do on a Hot Zone map is feed a Lou super. But you can see I kind of had to play mid here a few times, but it still worked out pretty well. She works really well on lanes because she's a brawler that is designed to ambush and bush camp since it takes her a few seconds to fill her heat bar. The higher it's filled, the more damage you can do. You can more easily do this on the lanes because you're less likely to get pinched by the other 2 lanes. In the middle, you also won't be able to really fill your heat bar unless your teammates are really carrying and buying you time to fill your bar. For her star power, it's pretty situational. If you're playing Showdown, 100% take shield star power because you always have plenty of time to bush camp and charge your heat bar to get that shield. But if you're playing 3v3s and you're playing a map and have a team comp where you know you can't afford to not shoot in order to charge up your heat bar, heat retention is a better idea. In other game modes like Gem Grab, Bounty, or Knockout, you'll definitely have time to charge up your bar, and having that shield comes in handy for those specific modes, so heat shield is so much better. Hot Zone is probably one of the times I should have taken heat retention because I barely got to use my shield. But the randoms were on my side because we won almost every game and got to 800 trophies. I also did find a team after this. We started playing in 1000 matchmaking because Nathan's B is above 1000 trophies. I'm also glad that he is playing a mid lane brawler so I can finally do my thing as Pearl and put my shield star power to use. The Amber did take out the grass here, which made it harder for me to camp in the bushes. A lot of these brawlers outrange me, so I had to do my best and play around the walls and what's left of the bushes. For Pearl's gadgets, I am always going to take Overcooked. The burn is so good, especially if you have your heat bar fully charged up. It does an insane amount of damage. If you have it perfectly set up, you do almost 7,000 damage, including the burn from the Overcooked gadget. That is insane. If you sneak up on someone with that combination, you can take down so many brawlers with just 1 shot. Playing on Ring of Fire was going so well that I got to rank 27 and Silver 3 at the same time. It was going so well actually that I got to rank 28, rank 29, rank 30, and even rank 31. These bushes right here are so great for Pearl. Any brawler that can get into these bushes and stay in these bushes on this map is so annoying for the enemy team. The only downside is that if the enemy team does sneak up on you while you're charging your heat bar, you will probably have to use your super and break the grass, which will make it harder for you to sneak up on them later on. And speaking of her super, you won't be using Pearl's super as much as you would other brawlers. It's good for keeping you or your teammates safe from brawlers that get right on top of you like any tanks, Chuck, or even Mortis, but other than that, you have so much range that you'll most likely be holding on to it. Okay, at this point I got to 1,068 trophies and I maxed out my mastery for the day. Not a surprise because I pushed my Pearl so much. The next day, I play on Knockout out in the open. This is a map and mode where Heat Shield star power is perfect because it's such a slow game mode and everyone plays very carefully. I'm really going to have to use my super on this map, unless again there are brawlers that get right on top of you, because it's quite literally an open map and I'm not going to be able to sneak up on anyone. So Pearl's main job here is to chip down the enemy's health. Her gadget Overcooked is very good here too, because if anyone overextends at all, you can quickly pop your gadget and do so much damage to the enemy and they will not see it coming. Her gadget does damage over time, so it gives you vision on enemies hiding in these bushes, helping your teammates shoot them a lot easier. When it comes to Pearl's hypercharge on this map, forget it, you do not need it. I don't think many brawlers even get their hypercharge on knockout. No one is really doing a lot of damage to even get to that point. Of course, some games there are exceptions. With these games, I got to gold 1 on Pearl, which means I get this cute exclusive pin. Then it was time to take a break. But when I got back on, all the maps out were terrible maps. I don't think Pearl would have done good on any of these maps. Pumpkin Plunder was out, which I haven't played since it was called Present Plunder, but I thought, let's just try it out. It might be fun. And honestly, it was so much fun. I'm playing with OG and Sans, and we went into this mode not knowing what to expect or what our strategy would be, but we ended up coming with a strategy naturally without even communicating it. Here's what we did. Once we were able to push up into the map, Sans would use his super to make the enemy disappear, and even though I'm slow, I typically have my heat shield up by this point, making me tanky enough to go in and tank any damage and get the pumpkin out of their base and pass it to our Eve. The funny thing with Eve on this map is that she can hover over the water, making it so easy for her to just beeline straight down the middle and throwing the pumpkin over the water each time. That is such an easy pumpkin for us. We did this strategy over and over again, and if we couldn't, as Pearl, I was mainly in charge of the middle of the map or defending. It's also a good idea to break this wall in front of their zone so it's harder for them to hide behind it and defend. I did tilt my Pearl earlier playing knockout, but it's fine because Pumpkin Plunder got me my trophies back and I hit rank 32 for the first time on Pearl. Brawl Stars needs to bring this mode back because it's so much fun. Going back to Pearl's hypercharge, even in this mode, I barely got to use my hypercharge, and when I do use my hypercharge, I've realized Pearl's hypercharge kind of sucks compared to the other brawlers. It sounded so overpowered when it first came out because hypercharge was so new, but now that more hypercharges have come out, Pearl's sounds so underwhelming. The only thing her hypercharge is good for is the increased stats like speed, damage, and shield, but her hypercharge super is so odd. With hypercharge activated, her super leaves behind a burning area that does damage, but her super also knocks the enemies out of her super's radius, so there's really no point at all to that mechanic. It virtually adds nothing to her super. I think it really needs a rework so that it matches the power of other super hypercharges in the game. Anyways, I played a few more games of Pumpkin Plunder until I got to rank 33 on Pearl, and look at that, I'm so close to gold 2. The next day, I couldn't find a team to play with that high trophy, so I took the risk and just played with anyone, not really expecting to gain any more trophies. I played Brawl Ball Pinhole Punt. As expected, I tilted a few trophies, but I eventually found some decent teammates and won some really good games. I don't like Pearl and Brawl Ball too much because it's one of those game modes where you constantly have to shoot, so our heat bar is rarely ever fully charged. There are some moments in some games where you do have time to charge your bar up while you wait for your team, but after that, you're just constantly shooting again. I definitely should have taken heat retention star power here for that reason. But it's not like Pearl is absolutely useless in Brawl Ball at all. Her super is actually very useful for breaking open walls if you do get positioning. And because it's easy to hit your shots on Pearl, you can always keep the enemies low, or scout out enemies in the bushes if you have vision gear on. For my last few games before getting to gold 2, I played on Hot Zone dueling beetles. Speaking of gears earlier, I mainly used gadget charge gear because her gadget Overcooked is so good and very useful. Anytime I can do more damage, I'm taking it. For the other gear, I use damage or shield. Of course, you always want to take vision gear on bushy maps, or at least one of your teammates should have it on. Hot Zone games are always so close. Every game I played on this map felt so insanely close. This game, the enemy had 97% on the zone, and I thought we were going to lose, but my team clutched up and we won the game. This next game was also pretty even, but we were able to get our momentum back and win the game. This was also my last game to gold 2. I got rewarded by this cute ultimate player icon. The next mode I played was Knockout Bells Rock. Gold 2 to Gold 3 was actually the hardest rank for me to climb because Charlie was just released. And before completing this rank, I pushed my Charlie to 1,000 trophies, so I knew how insanely hard it will be to play Pearl against Charlie. Pearl is so slow, there's no way I'm getting past Charlie's super, but my Pearl was still at around 1,100 trophies, and not that many people pushed their Charlie that high yet. Although we did encounter some Charlies on this knockout map, we did win majority of our games. Of course, whenever there was a Charlie, we lost so fast. I then switched over to Heist Hot Potato. I like Pearl for this map because it gives me enough time to charge up my heat bar, and this long patch of grass makes it easy for me to ambush enemy brawlers. But there were Charlies everywhere on this map. And this was before any nerfs to Charlie. I cannot defend a Charlie at all, especially when she gets on save. My shots barely do enough damage to kill spiders. And by the time I got to Charlie herself, she probably already had her super and I am just done for. So my teammates were like, alright, guys, the only way we have a chance to win against a Charlie is to have a Charlie on our team. So that's exactly what we did. Although some games were still hard, we did start to win a lot more games. And once we got our pacing down, we got rid of the Charlie and just hoped we wouldn't find her too much of a bother. Heist is my absolutely favorite game mode for pushing brawlers, whether that's trophies or mastery or both. It's just such a fast game mode. The only thing you really need to know is when to defend, when to push up, and when to just base race. I mainly use my gadget Overcooked on the savior to get extra damage. I couldn't always get my heat bar fully charged to do extra damage on the save, I just got in damage whenever I could. And lastly, to finish off this mastery, I played on Brawl Ball Field Goal. I get my hypercharge the most in Brawl Ball. You're constantly dealing damage and dying and respawning in this mode. So if Brawl Ball is your favorite mode, make sure you have the hypercharge on your favorite brawlers. Whenever I could, I always use my super to break open these walls in front of the goal. It kind of makes it harder for the Willow on my team because having those walls is useful for her, but scoring the ball is even more useful, so the walls had to go, and we scored so much more easily every single time. Star player on the last game, and goal 3 on Pearl, my 17th mastery. My thoughts on Pearl: she's a very basic and boring brawler sometimes, but I also think she's a very well-rounded brawler. It just depends on your playstyle. I just wish they made her hypercharge super a little bit better. Let me know which brawler I should master next. Bye!